Hello and welcome to Byju's IAS. Let's get started and look into the first article. The first article is speaking about Delta plus variant of COVID-19. There are about three articles in the Hindu today. Let's take them as one single issue to understand what is this issue. Before we understand what is this issue all about, let's have a brief idea with respect to the background. We know for the fact that the COVID-19 infections broke out in Wuhan in China. The first strain was transmitted from the wild into the human beings. As a result of which, the scientists in multiple countries started studying the genomic structure of this original wild virus. This is where they were able to come up with testing kits. They were able to plan up treatment plans as well. In fact, vaccines were also structured as per the original wild virus that we saw in Wuhan. What is happening of late? The virus is undergoing a lot of changes. It is undergoing changes when it comes to its structure. This change and modification brought about by the virus structure is what is called as a variant or a mutation. So what is a variant? A variant is where undergoes a change in its structure so that it can survive and live in the near future as well. That is what is called as the mutation. That is what is called as modification of its structure. That is what is called as the variant when it comes to the virus. So with time, the wild virus, which was originally present, changed its structure, and what we have is different types of changes, variants in the present situation. There are different types of mutations that this COVID-19 virus has currently gone through. What are these? One, it includes what is called as the alpha variant. This alpha variant was first identified in United Kingdom. Then what we have is the beta variant. This was identified in South Africa. Then we have the gamma variant, which was identified in Brazil. And now what we have is the delta variant, which is being seen in different countries. And finally, in India, what we have is the delta plus variant, which was recently identified in India. So what is this delta plus variant? It is nothing but change in the virus structure, and it is currently being believed that it has high rate of transmissibility. So the World Health Organization has currently gone on to say that this particular delta plus virus has higher transmissibility than the earlier ones which were present. So what we have is that the original virus transmission was comparatively weaker, but with time it has strengthened its structure and has become more stronger over a period of time. The mutation, coupled with other existing features of this delta virus, has helped in more transmissibility, says the World Health Organization. So this delta plus coronavirus variant has been declared as a variant of concern in India by the central government. So what are the concerns when it comes to this particular variant of the virus? One is we have to look at the reproduction number. What is this reproduction number? When you look into the reproduction number for the original strain of the virus, it was nearly 2.4 to about 2.6. When you look at alpha, it was about 3.6 to about 4.2. What do we mean by it? It means, let's say there is one of the person who is infected by the COVID-19 virus. If that particular person is infected, if he is in a particular area where people are not masking themselves, they do not have taken any protocols, there are no social distancing measures, in such a case, one single person would be able to spread to as many as 2.4 to 2.6 people, which means to say in an average about 2 to 3 people. But if it is alpha variant, it means that particular person would be able to spread to as many as 3 to 4 people. But if it is about delta plus and delta variant, it means they are able to spread to about 5.6 to 5.7 in average, which means they are able to spread to as many as 5 to 6 individuals in that particular area. And this delta plus variant has been instrumental in causing a pandemic in United Kingdom and in parts of United States of America as well. And there are concerns that this particular variant can be immune to what is called as vaccines as well. This particular immune to the vaccines is what is called as immune escape. So what is this immune escape? Basically, we have number of vaccines that are in picture right now. What do? They produce what is called as the artificial antibodies so that they can prevent the growth or the existence of this particular virus in our body. But what is happening with the Delta variant? It is having what is called as immune escape, which means that the antibodies created by the vaccines are not able to detect this particular virus, and ultimately they're evading the body structure as well. That is why we have what might be called as the third wave, where this Delta variant could have a maximum impact to the people. As of now, the major problem is that there are vaccines, people are administered with the vaccines, but these vaccines are not that effective when it comes to the Delta plus and the Delta variant. This is the major concern when it comes to this particular variant. So what is the recommendation? When you look into the recommendations, we have the union government which has asked the state governments to come up with some containment measures. Basically, they've asked state governments to prevent people from intermingling, organizing large number of crowds as well, and ultimately all that we have to do is to give vaccine shots with boosters, which means to say that as of now you need not have to change the entire structure of the vaccine, but instead minute indicative changes will have to be bought when it comes to the vaccine so that the booster can be given to the people as well. Therefore, apart from making sure that crowds are not present in a particular area and we give vaccine boosters, what the World Health Organization also suggests is that people have to mask consistently and they have to follow all the rules that have been laid before, like masking, following social distancing, and avoiding all the crowded areas needs to be followed going forward, is what is this article all about. It is this that we have to understand in reference to this article. Now let's look into the next article. This article says ED transfer of defaulters assets to PSBs. We have the Enforcement Directorate which has recently issued a statement. According to the statement, it has clarified that it has seized assets worth about 18,170.02 crore of three fugitive businessmen. Who are these? 1. Vijay Mallya, 2. Nirav Modi, and 3 is Mehul Choksi. So this article here is speaking about what was the scam that they performed in India, what is that the Enforcement Directorate has done, what are the issues when it comes to the Indian banking sector, what needs to be done going forward to stop these issues from resurfacing in the near future. First, let us have a look at the numbers. According to Enforcement Directorate, it has said that it has captured about 18,170 crores of assets, which means this particular amount of money will now be given to the public sector banks, where the public sector banks would be able to recover as much as 80% of this particular loan. So out of 100% that was given as loans or the money being sanctioned to these people, about 80% will be recovered from this particular money as said by the Enforcement Directorate. Now the question is, why did the Enforcement Directorate seize or sell all these assets of the businessmen? That is because when you look into these three businessmen, they were engaged in cheating the banks in India. When you look into Nirav Modi and Mehul Choksi, they had issued unauthorized letters of undertaking that caused a loss of about 11,500 crores to the Punjab National Bank. This also meant that they had engaged in what is called as the PNB scam. They had cheated on the banks as well, and at the same time we have Vijay Mallya who had also cheated banks. How? He had taken money from the banks and he had said that he would be engaging in one of the businesses, but then he had taken the money for one of the businesses but had diverted the money for some other purpose, which means all the three people had cheated the banking sector, they had siphoned off the money, and ultimately it is the banking sector which is at a greater loss. In order to ensure that these people do not escape the statute and the law books, what we have is the Enforcement Directorate which has captured and seized all their properties in India, which will be liquidated in the near future, and the money that is collected will be given to these banks which had given to those individuals as loans. Which were the laws which were used to seize their assets? We have the Prevention of the Money Laundering Act, Fugitive Economic Offenders Act, which was used by the Enforcement Directorate so that they could seize their property and ultimately deliver to the public sector banks. Now the question is, will it have a greater impact on the banking system? Yes, to a limited extent. But when you look at the larger picture, the overall health of the banks remains bleak, and the banking system is bound to suffer in the near future. Why? When you look at the bad loans that is given by the banks, it is about 8 lakh crore at the end of September 2020. It will be about 10 lakh crore by the end of the financial year 2022, and all that we have got is very minimal amount from these people to the banking system. So the banking system is bound to suffer in the near future, as its assets, that is loans, are going to turn bad in the near future, and they would not be able to collect them, and that means the overall banking sector is in deep crisis. Added to this, banks are also questioning about the actual value of the assets. When you look into the Enforcement Directorate, it has said that it will recover as much as 18,170 crores. This is where the banks have questioned about the authenticity of this particular value. Why? That is because selling of these assets that have been seized by the Enforcement Directorate is not that easy. Even in the past, there have been examples where SBI or number of banks wanted to sell some of the assets which are given as collaterals. But when it comes to these assets, there are very minimal number of buyers, so these banks had to sell these type of properties and assets at loss. So quoting a particular value is questionable in the present situation, so doubts remain over the actual value of the assets. Added to this, there are systemic issues within the banking system itself. Even if the present situation, we are able to seize the assets, we are able to give some amount of money to the banking system, but there is a grave consequences that is awaiting when it comes to the banking system. Why? That is because when you look into the banking system, most of the banks in India currently are owned by the public sector, which means the government is the major stakeholder. And when the loans are being given by this banking system to the people, it is not on the business model, but instead it is on the basis of pull, it is on the basis of political influence, it is on the basis of crony capitalism, says this article. So the loans given by the public sector banks are to the powerful industrialists who are often influenced by the crony, non-business considerations, political influence, but not on the basis of business model. So when banks were giving money to the industrialists in the past, what was looked into was whether they have the pull, whether they have the influence from the political parties, but the business models and considerations were not taken into picture by these public sector banks, because it is the public sector banks which dominate the Indian banking system. We are going to suffer in the near future, says this article. Added to this, whenever money is being dispersed by the banking system to a particular industrialist, they also will have to ensure that there is constant monitoring whether that particular industry and that particular person is using the money for the right purpose as initially envisaged by that particular company. But then when it comes to the banking system, there is little oversight about the functioning of this particular fund. So what is happening? There is diversion of fund from one businesses into another. They might have taken loans for the operation of one business, but the money is being utilized for some other purpose for which the money is not taken, which was the case even with Maल्या as well. So the banking system also has very little business sense while giving this particular loan sanctioning, and at the same time they have little oversight of all these transactions, says this article. So they have ignored the business sense and ultimately gone by the political influence of the political masters, where they were not able to say no in spite of it lacking any business prudentials, says this article. To overcome all these issues, the government has taken number of steps and measures. One of the reform schemes that the government has come up with is the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. What is the advantage of this particular particular code, lenders have been able to manage and recover from the defaulters. The amount of time taken to recover money has been reduced from 4 years to about 400 days as well. These are the advantages with respect to insolvency and bankruptcy code. But there are challenges as well, that they are not able to dispose of the cases within the set deadline as prescribed by the insolvency and bankruptcy code, which means to say, since they are not able to meet the deadline, these number of cases pile for the next number of years, and ultimately it would go back to the pre-insolvency and bankruptcy stage. So what is that we understand from this article? That this particular money recovered by the enforcement directorate is just a temporary one, but on the long run, on the larger perspective, at the overall picture of the banking system, it is bleak, and there is a lot of stress in the banking system is what we have to understand with respect to this article. Now let's look into the next article. This article says reigning in the big four. What is the big four here? It is speaking about four big companies of United States of America. One, Google; second, Facebook; third is Amazon; and fourth is Apple. This article here is speaking about the reforms which the US Congress is planning to come up to regulate these four companies. Why? That is because these companies hold a lot of sway and advantage when it comes to the United States of America's market. It is not only in USA but in the global economy as well. They are able to make sure that any emerging startups are completely nipped. They are able to make sure that there is no competition, and ultimately they are bringing about no competition in the United States of America or elsewhere as well. So what they have is market monopoly when it comes to its operations. To bring an end to their monopoly, what the US Congress has come up with is a suggestion to what is called as the antitrust bills. Now the question is, what is this antitrust bills? In India, we have what is called as the competition laws. This competition law in United States of America is what is called as antitrust laws. So the antitrust laws are nothing but statutes that guard all the customers from the predatory business practices. What do? They ensure that unlawful mergers and business practices do not happen. They also promote competition environment. They take actions against the monopoly. So basically, an antitrust bill will ensure that the monopoly which is in United States of America is discarded, or there will be steps taken to prevent the monopoly. There will be more competition in United States of America, and ultimately the customers' benefits are taken into picture. When you look into United States of America, there are two important laws as of now when it comes to the antitrust laws. One is the Sherman Act of 1890, the other is the Clayton Act of 1914. But what is the major issue? These laws, when it was drafted, did not take into picture the monopoly of the IT companies. It was not reflecting these advantages of the IT companies, and as a result, what we have is less competition in United States of America. In order to overcome this particular issue, the US Congress is currently planning to come up with few antitrust bills. When it comes to India, we have the Competition Commission of India, which will ensure that there is competition that is persistent in the market. Similarly, in United States of America, they have the Federal Trade Commission, which will ensure that there is competition in the market. So who will have a vigilant eye in the market in United States? It is the Federal Trade Commission, which will have a vigilant eyes to prevent monopoly, to prevent unfair mergers, and also ensure that there is competition in the market. In order to ensure all this is applicable in reality with the changing times reflecting the current situation, since the Sherman Act of 1890, the Clayton Act of 1914 is not able to meet the current precautions. That is why the US Congress has proposed about 6 bills. What are these? One, it includes what is called as the Platform Competition and Opportunity Act. This is currently a bill. It will become an act. So the Platform Commission and Opportunity Act basically will ensure that if there are few startups, these giant companies do not actually take up this startup and ultimately stop their growth. What do we mean by it? Let's say, for example, we have Facebook. What did Facebook do? Facebook realized that WhatsApp is one of the companies or an applications which will have a prosperous future. And at the same time, it also realized Instagram will be one of the important companies in the near future. So what does it do? An important startup company was brought about by Facebook, so it ensured that it nipped the competition of this startup. So what does this Platform Competition and Opportunity Act does? It basically ensures that these big companies do not buy a startup, and it also makes sure that such companies grow to a greater level in the near future. Followed by this, we have the Ending Platform Monopolies Act. What will it do? It will prevent companies from becoming players on their own platform. Let's take the example of Amazon. What happens in Amazon? Amazon is nothing but one of the sites which will ensure that there is product that is surfacing on its website and it sells all its products. But what is the problem with it? What Amazon does, it also has its own products as well. There are products from other companies, there are products from other small companies as well. But what Amazon does, because of its complicated algorithms, it only shows or puts up only those products of Amazon. So what Amazon does, in spite of it hosting multiple products, when you search a particular product, it showcases only the products of Amazon, which means there is conflict of interest. The other smaller companies will not be able to sell their products, and ultimately the competition is lost. Other companies are a greater loss. Why? Because Amazon also has its own products which it is planning to sell. So the Ending Platform Monopolies Act will basically ensure that Amazon would also give equal importance to the small retailers on its e-commerce platform. This is one such example. So similarly, other platforms will have to do it equitably. Then we have American Choice and Innovation Online Act, which basically would prevent companies from giving preferences to their own products. When you have to search something, where do you go? You go to the Google search engine. Let's say you have to watch one of the videos. When you search on the Google search engine, it should not only prompt at YouTube, but it should also give other applications as well. So preferences to the Google search engine, preferences to the Google product on Google search engine should not be the only way forward, but other applications should also be supported, says this American Choice and Innovation Online Act. Followed by this, Augmenting Compatibility and Competition by Enabling Service Switching Act. What do we mean by it? Let's say, for example, you are an iPhone user, or let's say, for example, you are an Android user. In case you are switching from Android to iOS or from iOS to Android, there needs to be some compatibility. This compatibility in number of cases may not be provided by the developer. Going forward, in case a person is switching from one platform to another, there has to be an ease of moving the data from one platform to another. Is what is this Augmenting Compatibility and Competition by Enabling Services Switching. Then we have Merger Filing Free Modernization Act, which will basically ensure that in case of any mergers that are happening between the companies, the fees would be enhanced such that the fees that would be collected by the Federal Trade Commission would be able to see if this merger will prevent competition of other companies. So the fees would be enhanced. This fees that will be collected will be used by the Federal Trade Commission to either monitor this particular merger and see if there would be market monopoly or prevention of the competition. Finally, what we would have is the State Antitrust Enforcement Venue Act, which would prevent the companies from shifting antitrust cases to the courts, where these companies have huge number of advocates. They could swing the court cases. So this will also be prevented in the near future. Will it become a law? Maybe this particular bill may become a law. But the two political parties in the United States of America, one the Republicans, the other the Democrats, are both supporting supporting these initiatives. Why? One, the Republicans feel that the conservative viewpoints are not represented by these IT companies, and at the same time, the Democrats also feel that there is weak data privacy, fake news proliferation that is continuing, which is why there might be this particular bill which may turn into a law as well. But there are also issues and challenges as well. As much as there are supporters to this particular legislation, there is opposition as well. Why? Because there are few people in both Republicans as well as in Democrats, the lawmakers who are opposing that this is excessive government interference on the private enterprises. This is not how the democracy of United States of America is. Excessive government control is not the way forward, say some of the lawmakers. And at the same time, they also feel that if there is too much of interference by the government with respect to the private sector, there would be loss of jobs, and at the same time, this will also stop the growth and innovation in the private companies, say some of the lawmakers. Why are we discussing all this? That is because if this particular bill becomes a law, this can set a global precedent as well. Let's take the example of what has happened in India. Paytm had voiced concerns with respect to activities of Google. This was also a case which is currently being seen by the Competition Commission of India. If all these laws does become a reality, these laws can be adopted by India and by other countries as well, so that their influence, their anti-competitive mode of operations can ultimately be curbed. This particular bill, if it becomes an act in the near future, comes into reality, a similar provisions can be enforced in India and across the world to prevent monopoly status of these major companies. It is this that we have to understand in reference to this article. Now let's look into the next article. This article says experts oppose decision to open Corbett Rajaji round the year. The article here is speaking about two national parks. One is the Rajaji National Park, the other is the Jim Corbett National Park. When it comes to the Jim Corbett National Park, it is the oldest national park in India. Where is it located? It is located in Nainital district of Uttarakhand and was named after Jim Corbett, who played a key role in its establishment. The park was the first to come under the Project Tiger initiative. Ramganga River, along with its significant tributaries Sonanandi, Palane and Mandal, forms the prominent hydrological resource for the Corbett. Kindly remember this factual data. It can be important from the preliminary examination point of view. Now, when we look into the Rajaji National Park, it is situated again in the state of Uttarakhand and is spread over Pauri Garhwal, Dehradun and Saharanpur districts of Uttarakhand. In the year 1983, Rajaji Wildlife Sanctuary of Uttaranchal back then was merged with Motichur and Chilla Wildlife Sanctuary and was made into Rajaji National Park. The park has been named after late Sri Rajagopalachari, who is also known as Rajaji. Remember these facts, it can be important from the preliminary examination point of view. Now let's look into the next article. This article here is speaking about helicopters. These helicopters can be broken down into two types. One is the indigenously developed, the other is the foreign imported. First, let us look into what are those which are indigenously developed. The first that we have is the advanced light helicopter. This is also called as the Dhruv helicopters. There are four variants to this advanced light helicopter. What are those? ALH Mk1, ALH Mk2, Mk3 as well as Mk4. What is the role of these helicopters? Basically, these are the utility helicopters. What can they be used? They can be used for multiple purposes. One, for the logistics, where we would be able to transfer goods from one place to another. It can be used in evacuation, so casualty evacuation can also be done by this helicopter. And finally, it can also be used as an armed helicopter as well. These are some of the roles performed by this advanced light helicopter. Then what we have is the Rudra. Rudra is the next version of this advanced light helicopter. So this has some of the weapons which is not present in the ALH. So the advanced version, which is weaponized in nature, is what is called as Rudra. This is developed by the Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. And do remember, it also has anti-tank operations which can be performed. It also has fire support in Rudra as well. It can be used for arm reconnaissance and surveillance. And finally, it can also be used for the escort activities. These two helicopters, along with Cheetah and Chetak, are the indigenously manufactured helicopters in India. Followed by this, we have the Ka-226 utility helicopter, which is made from Russia. So this can be an important question from the preliminary examination point of view, where Ka-226D is one of the helicopters where we imported from Russia. Added to this, the article also makes a mention of what is called as Heron TP, medium altitude, long endurance unmanned air vehicle. This unmanned air vehicle is currently being imported from Israel. So kindly remember, this can also be important from the preliminary examination point of view. So this UAV is currently being imported from Israel, which is very important for the operations along the line of actual control. What is the significant aspect of this UAV? This can be used for multiple missions by the armed forces. It is satellite communication enabled. It can fly up to 45,000 feet and also has an endurance which can stay up to 30 hours as well. These are some of the advantages of this particular UAV. Now let's look into the next article. This article says Jet Airways Revival Plan gets NCLT clearance. This article is very important in the economy, and this will be explained in our economy this week sessions. Now let's look into the mains practice questions. Highlight the major drawbacks surrounding the India's nationalized banks and discuss measures to improve efficiency and accountability. Next question. Antitrust bills initiated in the US House of Representatives will hold the big tech companies accountable for anti-competitive conduct and set a global precedent. Do you agree? Substantiate. So please write all your answers on the comment section. Peer review. Do give positive feedback to your friends' answers. So this is it for today. Thank you for watching. All the best.